Hi. Thank you for letting me share my story. So, when I had seen my gynecologist when I was going to turn, so I was 39, and he's like, when, next time I see you, you'll be, over 40. So, get a mammogram. And I was just kind of like, do I really have to do that? And he was like, just, go, make sure just get a mammogram. Like, it's just really important. So my dad is an oncologist. So, I went in and had my mammogram and then my ultrasound, and then they sent me to the waiting room. And then they're like, hold on. They didn't really let me leave. And I was like, well, this is weird. So I was just texting with my dad, this is weird. And he was like, no, this is normal. They had me go back in again. And then they were like, okay, the radiologist is going to call you. And I was like, okay. They're like, you need to come back in like an hour. And I was like, that's weird. So the radiologist, called the prescribing doctor, who was my dad, and basically was like, we think she has cancer. And so, my dad, I'll never forget, he called me and he was just like, listen, you most likely have cancer. You're most likely going to go through chemo, and you're most likely going to lose all your hair, but you'll live. And I was like, my dad, so, being an oncologist, I was definitely in shock. So from then on, I went to kind of like robot mode. I had my ultrasound and mammogram the next day. I got a biopsy. And then 2 days later, I was already in an appointment with a friend of my dad's who is an oncologist with a breast cancer specialty. So even before I got my biopsy results back, I had already had like a treatment plan. And then was already had an appointment with a breast surgeon. So even before they knew anything was going on, I already was like ready to go.
Right. You knew what to do and you had that guidance.
Yeah, I was very lucky in that.
The hardest part is the beginning. You don't know what you're dealing with. You're coming to terms to the fact that you have cancer. You don't know what doctor to go to. So that definitely, I'm sure, helped in that beginning chaotic phase for you. Did you see any other doctors for second opinions, or you knew this was your team?
I knew it was my team from minute one. I mean, my dad was kind of my first opinion, in a way. So, this was something I could not have felt or seen. So it wasn't something that at that point I was going to even be able to self-diagnose with an exam. This was like it. He saw all the radiology reports, and he was just like, that's it. This is your doctor.
And that backing from your father as you were going through this?
Oh yeah, he was with me at every single appointment. And my dad works, 7 days a week still. So he was literally like leaving the hospital, coming to the cancer center, meeting me whenever, the whole time I had my mom, my dad, and my husband were with me every single appointment.
How was that for your father, being an oncologist and hearing that his daughter has cancer?
He was at I'm kind of finding out more now than I knew then. For both him and I, it was like robot mode. This is what's happening. This is your treatment plan. This is what's going on. And then more like now I'm kind of finding out like that he doesn't really treat breast cancer patients anymore. That he sends them off, to my oncologist or to other oncologists. So, knowing that is kind of like, wow, I didn't really realize the impact that it had.
What are some of the key lessons you've learned?
I didn't really feel anything until now. Upon talking to my oncologist, now it's kind of like I kind of wish that I had felt more then and internalized it. I was just kind of like going from one appointment to another appointment. The lessons are, they're kind of widespread from listen to your doctor to, this journey in a way, it kind of like, it has a second part, and that's what happens after you're all done. I think that's the biggest.
Talk a little bit more about that, because I find that a very interesting topic. People think, get through this cancer and that's the end of your journey, but what is the second part?
I think like it's interesting because you go through everything and you celebrate every little milestone. You're like, okay, I'm on round 2 of 5, or radiation 20 of 30, and then you're seeing your doctor all the time. You're getting blood work all the time. And now I'm getting blood work every 3 months. And I'm still, get monthly ovary suppression shots, and, take medication for the rest of my life. But now is the time when I worry that, like, oh, could it come back? Or I feel something, and, I don't have that support of the doctor, every month or every few weeks or whatever. So it's more like now you're navigating it on your own. And now is when the fear comes in.
Mm-hmm.
For me, at least.
Yeah, I can identify with that as well. After finishing all, like you said, you have so much attention on you, so much focus on you. And it was fun. It was something I didn't realize until I came to that point in my journey as well, how difficult, like you think, okay, I'm done, let's celebrate, but it leaves this empty void, and it's almost readapting to a life post-cancer, which is very different. The way you see things, the way you think about things is so different.
Yeah, especially like not feeling so much like in the moment, like it was just like when going through it, I just had to get through every single day.
Right.
And I haven't really been able to stop and think of what I've been through. So now is the time when I'm like, wait a minute, I did this, or, it's just kind of like, okay, let's have another surgery. Let's go through radiation. Wait, that's not working. You need to stop. And now you have this. And, now is kind of the time where it's like, okay, now I'm going to process all of this.
Right.
And this is that's kind of the now for me.
Yeah.
Kind of figuring it all out.
It's crazy. I feel like I'm starting to hit that point. All of a sudden I stopped and I'm like, whoa, like it's all these short, okay, I can get through today. I can get through this treatment. I can do this. And then it's like, okay, wow, I just went through a lot,
Yeah. And they're supportive, but it's like, how much do you want to tell someone? Like, I'm a very open person, but how much do I want to be like, so I never, like, I never actually feel well. Like, I actually, to this, like, I don't feel good ever, and that's kind of where I'm at. My dad always said that I had the luckiest form of cancer to get, being HER2 positive, because it does have such a targeted treatment.
Yeah.
That in a way, like, that was, if you're gonna get cancer, this is the tape to get. That's kind of what he always tells me. So, your treatment doesn't end with chemo. Then it was like a full year of, Herceptin and Perjeta, and 30-minute or each intervals of infusion. So, like, still going there. And then, then being HER2 positive, I think that it takes a lot of proactive work after the fact. Instead of getting my ovaries out, I chose to get Zoladex shots, and that's every 28 days. And those aren't fun, but what I tell the nurses every month is it's not chemo, and like, very real. Like, oh, I'm here for my shot in the stomach. Like, so within that, I was on tamoxifen. And then I was switched about 6 months ago to an anastrozole, which is like it's like a generic for Arimidex.
Okay, right.
I guess they just say is a little bit better for your bones.
Yeah.
The transition between medications was not fun. But I think, over that hump, because it takes a lot of playing around with all these medicines to see what works for you.
For sure. Absolutely.
I was all positive.
You were positive across everything. PR,
So no, yes,
were too.
Yes. So I, no hormones ever for me, ever.
Right.
That's kind of the way I think about it, is like I can never have anything that has a hormone.
Right. Like in terms of the after, right? Like what kind of changes did you make in your lifestyle, your diet, or did did it change anything for you?
It's funny because when growing up, it was always like, oh, if you get really skinny, you'll look like a cancer patient. But like for someone who's like, I've been an athlete my whole life, and I gained 30 pounds when I was going through chemo. And my doctor was kind of like, well, don't eat as much pasta. And I was like, the only thing I could really stomach the whole time were, potato chips and bagels, pretty much. I couldn't really, there were times when I was just eating bread, or a lot of soup. So, I think that in between each chemo round, I was so sick, and it was one of these things where it's like, my dad would be like, I've never seen anyone so sick. I was every 3 weeks, so I would be very sick for 10 days.
Right.
10 to 14 days. And then you get fined for like that. So, there was just there's a lot of like fight from then on of like trying to kind of figure out how I'm going to get back to myself, and realizing that that's just not there. And I think that I'm not quite there. I'm not even a little bit there yet, realizing like that the self you were before is not going to even be close to the self you are now.
Totally.
So I think that's a diet. I really like it. Nothing struck me as like I need to try to eat healthy at all. I just kind of have always been like, I'm going to eat what I can eat. But trying to get back to the way I was pre-cancer is kind of where I'm at right now, and that's difficult.
Right.
So it's more of an adjustment now than it was then, because then I was just trying to get through the day.
You think, what would you love your legacy to be?
Oh, that's good. I just kind of, I'm very real, and in a way, like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think that I've been a teacher for about 16 years. And finally, for the first time since I've become a teacher, I'm like, I can kind of see what's happening next. My breast surgeon has been kind of sending me patients to speak with who are going through similar diagnoses.
Right.
So I have a friend who has bladder cancer, and I've been talking him through everything. So like, in terms of like, I want to be one of these people that's like real and telling you what will probably happen, and be like, okay, she definitely fought through everything and was able to just give an honest opinion. Because I think like what worked for me was someone, I don't want to hear you're going to be fine. Like, yeah, we're going to be fine in 3 years is great. But like, I want to know, like, the way my dad kind of said, like, you're going to live, but you're going to lose your hair. And
what does beautiful struggle mean to you?
Oh, that's good. Beautiful struggle. I think in a way it's just kind of dealing with everything in the best way for you. Because I think that, when you're going through, any type of cancer, you don't feel beautiful. So the fact of being able to fight every day, that's what's beautiful. And being able to really, every time, like going through, I feel like now I'm like 9 or 10 surgeries in and hopefully done. That's the struggle, is feeling okay after. Fighting through it, being like beautifully honest, being, myself, showing flaws, like that's beautiful. And then having that struggle, that's just, it's right here all the time. So kind of like living through that, I think.